Welcome, Stefano, to Metallic Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Sick, this new album, Pyramiden, and more
Pyramiden,
things,
yeah.
Pyramiden, and more things relating to the metal world. So, starting, how was the transition to go with a new label like Housecore Records, and now the biggest one, Nuclear Blast, because you because he was in the shadow with Atoma and with Opticon, because I really love the first album.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was basically a chance we got because some years ago, almost a decade, I would say, it was like 8 years ago. We just woke up in the morning and opened the mailbox after we released the Thomas since like 3-4 months. And we got an email from Phil Anselmo, actually. And, at first we thought it was like a joke or maybe a prank or something, someone pranking us because we never expecting something like that. So, but finally we realized it was real, and actually he was congratulating with us for the first album that he loved really much. And then after some months, Down were playing in Italy, and we managed to meet in person, basically. And we met in the concert was close to Udine. It was Maiano, was Eastern Italy. So we drove for 5 hours. I remember, just in the car talking about, hey, we're gonna meet Phil Anselmo, and everyone was totally, freaking out. So we spent the afternoon together with Phil and Kate, which is, our partner and his partner, and also manager and the housecore boss. And we spent the whole afternoon together in the backstage and talking about the fact that it would be cool to have Seek on housecore. And so finally we did it, and it happened. So we spent some time composing High Opticon, which I think was released 1 or 2 years from that day, maybe 1. And that was the first release. It was totally random, we would never expect something like that, because we also never sent any Atoma copy to Housecore, basically. The copy was sent from an Italian reviewer, and so it was totally unexpected for us, because we didn't look for that at that time. And then after that, we just toured a couple of years promoting High Opticon, and then we had some lineup changes and some problems in the band and stuff. So it took also the lineup changes were happening during the Pyramid composing process. So everything was changing all the time at that point. And so we lost maybe a year looking for a drummer. And but the album was already done, basically. And so we finally found Mauro playing drums. And he joined the band a couple of years ago. So and it was during the opening of the pandemic. So we met him 1 year after we recorded the album, because we were working on a distance all the time, and we met the first time with him in person during the Pyramid official video recording. So it was crazy, but we are now rehearsing finally, and it took a year from the album was basically finished to the release. So the album was already ready to go 1 year ago, so March 2021, and we wait basically 1 year to get it done and released. And in the while, Housecore just started this kind of partnership and co-production for Pyramiden with Nuclear Blast, and it finally happened. I mean, it was something like that, basically. I don't know if I answered your question pretty much.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So I've been hearing this. I've been see. Well, I've been see a lot of reviews of this new album from Pyramiden. So, and I see the many reviewers and fans try to label your music as extreme progressive metal, extreme metal, degen metal, etc., etc. So for you, what is exactly the correct label that the band has for this Pyramiden? Because when I hear the past, it's very difficult to set a label into your music.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me that, I mean, to me, it's just metal. I mean, I grew up with all kind of pretty, intense metal act. Like, I loved 80s, I loved death, I loved modern trash like Testament, like that kind of stuff when I was growing up, and all that stuff was pretty full of different influences, And but to me, I mean, at that time was like just metal when I was a teenager, I mean, I didn't put so much labels, so not as much as now. I mean, now you have plenty of different kind of metal subgenres, which is too much maybe. So in my opinion, I mean, if I have to put in some kind of space, I would say is like blackened death metal with clean vocals. I mean, if you put a grow vocals on that, I think we can easily tour with bands like Rivers of Nile and stuff like that. I mean, because it would be more normal. But with Dalila singing on that, kind of wall of sound, it creates some kind of paradox, which is strange to some people, because it's not expected to be like that. So, but in my opinion, it's just metal, because I mean, to me, metal is the most hybrid genre around. You got all sort of influences in metal, and but I think it's mostly, I mean, the music is death metal with some blackened touch, and I like Nevermore as well. So I think there's also some kind of Nevermore as well, if you can find that. But to me, it sounds pretty normal. I mean, but it's, everyone's taste is different, so I can accept any kind of perspective. It's not a problem. But some call it avant-garde, but I don't think it's avant-garde. It's just extreme metal with clean vocals.
For me too. When I listened for the first time Pyramiden, for me it was, well, it is extreme metal, because you have a lot of influence into there. It's very difficult to put just one genre into your music, for me especially. I don't know other persons, but for me it's extreme metal. So relating to the one topic, you talk about the Atoma. So, but Atoma went to the Philip Anselmo Housecore Productions, etc., etc. So, but talking about the albums in the band, talking about the matters, when a band releasing their first album, many fans, reviewers thinks that the first album is the best of the best, for many people. I think like I think for you too, because your bands from the 80s and 90s, the first albums are the great ones compared to the latest albums, if we try to relate these aspects. So, but for the band, usually the last album is the best one. So for you, how this is a counterproductive thing, because the fan thinks the Atoma is the best albums, and Pyramiding is the best work from the band. So what are your opinion about this matter?
I think that we're kind of doing an opposite path. Like, I believe that much more people liked Pyramiden rather than Atoma, because Atoma is really chaotic. I mean, Atoma is more sonically extreme and, you know, and strange. I mean, it's a real industrial and kind of
Noise too.
It's really dirty and noisy and also technical at some point. I mean, just here and there, but I mean, basically it's totally different kind of album. But to me, I mean, every album it reflects a specific time and period, and since we changed a lot, and also with my previous bands, I mean, I was playing totally freaked out grindcore. I had this band called Psychophagies for 16 years, and it was totally wild. So to me, when I started writing and composing for Sick, it was more centered and hard. I mean, it wasn't that much chaotic anymore, but I was coming at the time from a really chaotic kind of music. So to me, Atoma was kind of normal. Then growing up and changing, you know, my way of playing guitar and approaching it, I just achieved different kind of sounds, and everything is just shaping. So it's like Atoma is like a seed, a germ, but you know, the plant is growing. So I think we are just trying to do better from an album to another, and actually also the follow-up of Pyramiden is almost done, and it sounds even more aggressive. But I'm really curious about the vocals on that one, because vocals are not part of an intentional process. I mean, Pyramiden got this kind of really fragile vocals, you know, because the content in it is really fragile. So the vocals are just reflecting the content of the lyrics. And the next one is really angry, is really aggressive, because in the last 2 years we just felt oppressed and and locked down. So the next one is much more explosive in a way. So I believe the vocals will be something that will mix all the 3 albums before. So everything is changing all the time. We don't have purpose in what we do. We just express what we feel. So but I think we are just doing that in a more precise way, growing up. So I think it's just about that.
Okay. So one thing that I saw compared with the last album, especially for me, that you said one thing is the first album for me is a chaotic one. It's very difficult in some ways to understand, but I love it because I'm a very fan of this kind of music since
me as well.
Time with noise. I love Mr. Bungle in this way because this is a very, very abstract thing. That's one thing that I love from Atoma. It's a lot of abstract things into there.
Yeah.
But with this Pyramid, it's more clean in sometimes in the guitar parts, the audio, the drum part is more clean too compared to the past.
Yeah.
So for you, if we try to relate one aspect, when you enter a new label on a big label like Housecore Records and Nuclear Blast, the bands perhaps will define more clean stuff or will define more mainstream stuff compared to the past?
I don't think so, because when for example, Pyramiden was completed, we weren't aware about the fact that we were gonna release it with Nuclear Blast. So when the Nuclear Blast thing came out, the album was done. So we didn't did that thinking about going on a bigger level, you know. And at the same time, Phil really loved Atoma and really loved Atoma because it was dirty and outraged and unhuman at some point. So if he would have pleased some others' perspective, we probably would have gone along doing music like Atoma, you know. And I think it's just what we are right now. I mean, I changed the music I hear is different. I mean, I always listen to the same bands since like 30 years now, you know. I'm always listening to Black Sabbath, to Death, to that kind of bands, to Dissection and stuff, Arcturus, or maybe older. I mean, I'm listening to those bands since forever, nevermore. But in the last period of time, I also switched to pretty wider range. Like I love Lisa Gerrard, for example, or maybe Levon Minassian, which is an Armenian musician, which plays the duk, which is a kind of flute, particular instrument, which sounds really vocal. And but I also listen to, for example, Catatonia, maybe The Fall of Arts. I just consumed that album for months. Rivers of Nile, or maybe Shamash. I mean, all this stuff just put this kind of coupled with solitude, because I live in the mountains, into the woods, basically, in a small village. So if you listen to that shit and, you know, live like I live in the woods, in silence and in solitude, I mean, you just develop a different kind of approach and perspective, and everything becomes more lucid at some point. So the sound in Pyramiden is just more centered because I am more centered. When I composed Atoma, I was totally freaking out. I mean, I burned out, like at that time. I was totally burned out. I was sick. I had some health problems. So, and Atoma came out. And then I just put some order, and Hyopticon came out, which was more, you know, clean in a way, but also still dirty and still noisy. And Pyramiden now is just the result of 6 years in the woods and with myself and dealing with shit all the time. And so I'm more clean. So I'm producing cleaner music, you know, if you know what I mean. So it's just normal for me. And the next one, even if it will be really aggressive, because it's really aggressive album, even will be clean and centered, but more punchy, but not noisy, you know, because I'm not noisy anymore. I don't feel like that. So it's even if I do aggressive and extreme music, I'm just getting what I want, and sonically, and got that. I mean, so it's just about me. It's not about what I want to do, or maybe achieving a bigger level or whatever. Because I mean, for now we're not in a bigger level. You know, no one knows what's going to happen, but we are still underground at the moment. So it's just about me, what I feel, and what the other guys in the band feels, and the expression of and more focused expression of into music, you know. So it's just that. I mean, it's not a will.
Okay. So talking about that one now, I think the first two albums was released by 2 years, but difference because Atoma was released in 2014, then I Opticon was released in 2016. But now
Yeah.
this Pyramid took you 6 years to release a new album. So
Yeah.
why this kind of why this is delay? Why Pyramid delay 6 years to record a new album? And perhaps the pandemic has to do with this, because do you have trouble with the pandemic, no? So because the pandemic
Oh,
in Italy was hitting hard there in 2020.
yeah. Yeah, well, not really. I mean, it was just because 2 years after Iopticon we were busy touring and promoting the album, so 2 years was just over. So from 2016 we go to 2018. So and then I just composed, because Pyramiden has been composed twice.
Okay.
At first, yeah, I mean, because after Iopticon, I started composing Pyramiden, and I basically did like 7 songs. Then after some months, I just wake up one morning and realized that I didn't like that very much. So I just cancel months of work with one click, like cancel, and start over again. So and Pyramiden, like it is, was composed in like 5-6 months, like 8 hours a day, and then we met together and and put it together. But the whole thing took some time, and we finally mixed it like 1 year ago, and right after there was mastering. So if you put in account that 2 years we were touring at the beginning and 1 year took for the release, basically I mean, it took just 3 years have it done. So 6 years just goes like that, and basically, and we lost time. And my intention for the next one is just to really, I mean, if it was for me, I mean, the next one would be like out by the end of the next year, because we are already almost done. And so we'll see. I mean, sometimes you have to, life changes, and maybe there's a lot of shit to do, so time just goes by. So there are not just specific reasons for that, it just happen basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, well, your music is abstract since the beginning, so it's very abstract since the beginning. So if we try to relate this abstract concept with synesthesia matter, perhaps do you hear about synesthesia matter?
Synesthesia matter, sorry?
Synesthesia.
Okay.
If you don't know about synesthesia is when a person hears the music.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
So please, please, can you repeat the whole question? So
okay, no. Well, I will go to the question yet. So don't worry. So into this matter, the synesthesia matter, if we try to relate the concept. So what kind of odors, colors, and smells that the listeners will find into this Pyramiden?
Okay. Well, I mean, the color is like blue, totally blue and icy. And I mean, because Pyramiden, it's a place, it's a city on Earth, and lost in the close to the Arctic Circle. So it's also a metaphor for me, because it's the farthest place on Earth. And when I moved here, just you're a little cast away, and you have to deal with things which are pretty close, like being in Pyramiden. So for me, Pyramiden is really like being there. I mean, it's cold, but at the same time it's visionary. I mean, I would say, because when you're alone, maybe for days, you start seeing things. You just you know, not sing because you're crazy or mad or whatever, just sing because when you're in silence and you don't have all that noise and distraction you got in the city, you start to find different kind of connections. So you just kind of perceive things differently. And Pyramiden is just got that kind of attitude. I mean, it's a place which leads you to a different way of perceiving, because people is not used to that, you know. People is always used to noise and city and rushing all the time and things. But Pyramiden just puts you in a different kind of mood, like the same mood I got with some bands, for example. I mean, I totally love the last Warforged album, which is unbelievable to me. And as I put that album on and I listened to the music, I got overwhelmed, and I found myself every time into the woods, like just listening to the album. So I think that some music just puts you in a different kind of mindset and environment. But to work, the guy who's composing it needs to be in that kind of environment. Otherwise, it would, you know, feel things always the same. So in a desperate ways, basically, because too much input. When you clean yourself from input, you just perceive subtle kind of noise. So everything becomes more, you know. And Pyramiden for me is like that. It's that dimension. So I got this feedback from a lot of people telling me that at first it was like some kind of, not really an experience, you know, but you got these weird feelings, like what's that, you know, like what's happening. And but I definitely think it's cold one. I mean, it's cold feeling. You feel desolate and desperate and alone and far away, and you know, it's not an easy album emotionally.
Okay. Now one thing that you said is Pyramiden is a zone, when it's a place in the earth, but it represents different things for your brain. So perhaps this Pyramiden has a conceptual way to see it, or what is the lyrics behind this Pyramiden?
The lyrics are just about the experience I just told about. Like there's a lot of visions, so there's a lot of imagination in it, but there's a lot of imagination also related to real facts. Like, you know, there's some lines which make people think that, you know, they're just metaphor, but they're not metaphor at all. I mean, when if you find that line, there's a line telling that basically I was hearing child choirs floating through my window, and actually it did happen. I mean, you can call me mad, but it did happen. It was 2 o'clock in the night. I was in the bed, and I literally listened child choirs floating through my window. So I mean, the lyrical content it's weird, but some lines, a lot of them are totally real facts. And I don't believe that a lot of people would, you know, just realize that, or maybe believe that, you know. And so the lyrics are just about basically my last 7 years in this place, because everything changed, everything is different, perceiving is different, and it's an album about solitude and vision, basically. But I hope that every listener will have his own vision related to that, you know. I mean, I like music that brings you into a new environment, which is, I mean, it's a different thing. I mean, it doesn't need to be good or bad. you know. It's not about that. It's just about feeling different. And because music for me is, I mean, when I listen to Symbolic from Death, for example, is totally different from Individual Thought Pattern, because Symbolic, it's got it's ambient, and it's not just about music, it's not just about musician, and it's not just about the lyrics, it's not about the, you know, the tonal kind of shit, or maybe harmony or stuff. Is just about, because that album has that specific sound which leads you to another thing. And I mean, I grew up on that kind of music, so I'm trying to not bring intentionally those things into my stuff, but it just came out that way. So I want to do music that bring also myself to a new environment. So it's a strange process sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One thing that you said in the first question is about the voice from Delilah, because Delilah is, I think, the most representing thing from that Sick has in all your music. So
Yeah.
why did you decide to choose his or her voice into all music from Sick? Because it's very different. Sometimes it's a very, very weird to hear her voice. What kind of feeling did you attract when you hear for the first time Delilah into the music from Sick?
It was, I mean, also for us it was kind of normal, because we just met Dalila when we were touring with my previous band Psychophagists, and she was our opening act on our last European tour, and then the band just disbanded. But on that tour, she was on tour with us for a couple of weeks with her solo project. So we heard her with her solo project all the time, and we were like impressed. And at that time, her music was really a ritual, because she's from Sardinia, which is an island basically, and you know, and there's a lot of magic there. I mean, it's like a shamanic place in Italy, you know. People is still really connected with magic. And so she was playing every night with this kind of weird vocals, because she was not singing normal, basically, you know. It was really ritual. And like maybe Heilung, if you know, I mean, that kind of stuff, or Wardruna, or maybe bands like Neo Folk Band, you know, which has got these kind of vocal tricks and stuff. And so we just got impressed, and we wanted to start a new band after Psychophagists disbanded. And to us was just normal to ask Dalila, because she was basically the best singer we ever met at that point. Mm-hmm. So and we were not thinking about ourselves like, okay, we are a metal band, we have to find a metal singer, you know. We never thought in that way. So we just like how she sings, and it was like normal, like, yeah, let's ask Dalila if she wants to join. Okay. And so did happen.
Okay. So we are very close to ending this interview, Stefano. And what are the future plans that SIG has for this Pyramiden? Perhaps a European tour, perhaps you are going to the North America, perhaps a Latin tour here, who knows?
Wow, that would be great. Yeah, we used to tour a lot, so I hope that something will happen, and probably it will happen maybe next year, because, you know, after the pandemic, everything was just upside down. So festivals were already booked, many of them, because they were the previous year edition was postponed. So, you know, everything is working forward right now. So we'll probably have bigger things, I hope, next year. Right now, we're just starting playing some shows over Italy from the next month. and like some spot shows, like in clubs and stuff. I think we're gonna play at least, I don't know, 10, 15 shows until October, I believe. And also we hope to achieve some festival appearances probably next year as well, or I don't know if something will happen this year, because everything is starting again. So I hope so, because I'm tired of staying home. I want to go back and tour and bring this stuff on stage, because on stage would be great. I love to play this stuff. So I just want to go on stage and play, because I miss that so much. And but we don't have. We just have plenty of shows right now, and they're in Italy. But we also got probably some option for the next year at some festival. I hope so.
Okay, nice to hear that. I hope so. I hope someday you will come here to Latin America and see you, because
Great.
I think your music is very sickness, and I really like this kind of music when it's very sickness.
Thank you so much.
Well, Stefano, the sad times arrived at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did, and thank you very much for your time. This new album is a really great one. I hope,
Thank you so much.
as I told you, I hope to see you live someday. So, do you want to add something to your new Latin American fans and Metallium readers?
Yeah, just spend time listening to music, but focusing on it. Like, if you want to listen to an album, you have to listen to it like 100 times, because you always discover something new. And but I believe that in your country, you have a culture which is still like that. It's not like in Europe where there's this modern attitude, like you do an album and after 2 months is already old, like, okay, let's go to listening to something else. I think that music deserves attention, and each album grows all the time. It doesn't matter which one. You don't have to do complicated stuff, also easy stuff. You need to listen to that a lot of times to discover new things. So I would say, like, go and listen to music, and hope to see you soon as well.
Nice.
Would be really great. I would love to come there and play there. It would be a dream. So I hope so. And so thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate this, and it's great you like the album as well.
Okay.